It's Tuesday, February 23rd, and this is now on HNN.
Look at that vehicle there, sustained major damage.
Pro golfer Tiger Woods is hospitalized after a single-car crash in Los Angeles.
You know, I have officers that were out there literally fighting for their lives.
Capitol security officials testified for the first time about what went wrong on January 6th. I'm Malden Avera on Capitol Hill with more on who they say was at fault that day.
Maybe about 3 weeks or so.
Hawaii's health director says it could be weeks before those 70 and older can get a vaccine.
Vegas sure doesn't look like it used to. I'm Wendy Gillette. I'll show you how the city is doing since the pandemic hit and the precautions casinos are taking.
Plus, new details about that mid-air engine explosion involving a United Airlines plane. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
We have a lot of breaking news to get to, and we begin with this out of Oahu's east side. A victim in his 20s was fatally stabbed this morning in Hawaii Kai, and the suspect remains on the run. Authorities said the incident happened about 10:15 this morning. Paramedics responded to the intersection of Hahaiaone Street and Hawaii Kai Drive to find the 23-year-old victim stabbed in the upper body. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect apparently fled before police arrived. Authorities have launched a manhunt, and nearby Hahaiaone Elementary has gone into lockdown. And this also just into our newsroom, a state lawmaker has been arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. It happened last night, according to police. HPD officers arrested Sharon Haar on suspicion of operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant around 10:20 last night. Sources say the 52-year-old state representative was driving the wrong way in the center lane down Baratania near Pi'ikoi. She has since been released on $500 bail. Haar represents District 42. She was first elected to the state legislature in 2006. We've got even more details posted on both these stories on our HNN digital platforms.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for watching This Is Now. So much news today. Also new at noon, pro golfer Tiger Woods is hospitalized after being involved in a single-car rollover crash in Los Angeles this morning. This is a live feed from LA right now. You can see the wreckage there in the bushes. Officials say emergency crews had to use the jaws of life to remove the 45-year-old from the vehicle. Here's Chris Martinez with more.
Emergency crews used the jaws of life to free Tiger Woods from his mangled vehicle Tuesday morning following a single-car accident.
The vehicle ran off the road,
According to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Gulf great was traveling alone along this road near Rancho Palos Verdes when he lost control of the vehicle. The car sustained major damage. Woods was transported to a nearby hospital. His agent says he suffered multiple leg injuries requiring surgery.
Gravely concerned. I mean, if Tiger's in surgery now for whatever part of his body has been injured, I understand it's his legs. It's tragic. It's concerning. And he just came off of another spine surgery, so this is about as concerning as it can be.
Woods recently underwent a fifth procedure on his back in hopes of competing in the upcoming Masters tournament in Georgia. Over the weekend, Woods hosted the PGA Tour's Genesis Invitational and spoke to CBS Sports about his road to recovery.
I'm feeling fine. I'm a little bit stiff. I have one more MRI scheduled so that we'll see if the annulus has scarred over finally, and then I can start doing more activities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sick to my stomach. You know, it hurts to see one of your, now my closest friends, get in an accident. And, man, I just hope he's all right.
At the time of the accident, the 45-year-old was in the area for an annual golf tournament in the Pacific Palisades and was recently spotted with sports greats, including Dwayne Wade. It's unclear what caused Tuesday's crash. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And we'll have more on Tiger Woods coming up at 4. Now let's get you the latest coronavirus numbers. The state health department is reporting 47 new cases and no new fatalities today. The breakdown by island shows 17 cases on Maui, 27 on Oahu, and 3 residents were diagnosed out of state. Kauai County is independently reporting 1 new case. We want to take you live now to Washington, D.C. This is a live feed from Congress. Lawmakers there are looking for answers into the security failures during the deadly January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. Today, the Senate is holding a joint hearing with 2 committees questioning the men in charge of security that day. Madeline Rivera has more from Capitol Hill.
Former Capitol Hill security officials say they were unprepared for the January 6th assault on the Capitol because of faulty intelligence and a breakdown in communication.
Every Capitol Police daily intelligence report between January 4 and January 6th, including on January 6th, forecast the chance of civil disobedience or arrest during the protests as remote to improbable.
U.S. Capitol Police now acknowledge they received an FBI report ahead of the attack, describing online threats of a, quote, looming war at the Capitol.
The United States Capitol Police Department did get that report. I was just advised of that in the last 24 hours. That report made it from the Joint Terrorism Task Force over to our Intelligence Bureau, over to a sergeant there, and ceased moving forward at that point.
There remains conflicting information about the decision not to request the National Guard be put on standby ahead of the January 6th rally. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund says he was told on January 4th that bringing in the National Guard would be bad optics, while former House Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving insists that wasn't a factor.
Let me be clear. Optics, as portrayed in the media, played no role whatsoever in my decisions about security.
However, Robert Conti, the chief of police for Washington, D.C., says that the Army questioned the optics of deploying the Guard when the request was made during the attack.
My response to that was simply, I was just stunned that, I have officers that were out there literally fighting for their lives.
Senators say this is just the first of multiple hearings looking into the attack. Madeline Rivera, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Honolulu police are investigating an overnight attempted murder. EMS tells us a 37-year-old man was shot on Kauai Street in the Ward area. This happened at around 2 o'clock this morning. We're told the victim was shot in the lower extremity and taken to the hospital in serious condition. Police tell us he's since been upgraded to good condition. No arrests have been made.
NTSB investigators are still looking into that mid-air engine explosion involving a United Airlines passenger jet headed to DKI. Alright, so here's the update we have for you today. Officials say they already see evidence of metal fatigue in 2 of the engine fan blades that broke off. That's a critical finding as the investigation proceeds. Those engine fan blades that broke free caused the engine to come apart in flight. And we've learned this is the 3rd incident involving the same engine. The FAA has grounded all 777s that use that engine. United, the U.S. carrier that uses them, has 24. Japanese authorities have also grounded the plane. And now the FAA is making immediate fan blade inspections on those planes a top priority. More now from NBC's Tom Costello.
Inside an aircraft hangar in Denver, the United 777 involved in Saturday's mid-air emergency. A massive hole punched in the belly of the plane near the wing, likely from shrapnel from the exploding engine, though investigators say the damage is actually minor. Inside the engine, though, one of 22 fan blades ripped off at its base, another sheared off mid-blade. The NTSB says both blades have been recovered and show clear signs of metal fatigue.
It's like taking a paper clip and going back and forth with it, and eventually it will break. That's what's happening in this case. Every time that airplane takes off or land, it puts one more fatigue cycle on that component.
When those blades broke free, the engine came apart, sending huge pieces falling to the ground in a Denver suburb. It's the 3rd time blades have broken off Pratt & Whitney engines on a Boeing 777. In 2018, a cracked fan blade on another United 777 also caused an engine failure. That plane landed safely in Honolulu. In December, it happened on a Japan Airlines 777. Engine maker Pratt & Whitney says it's cooperating with investigators.
I think it makes it more suspect from the standpoint of the commonality. All three of these events involved a hollow titanium fan blade breaking for some reason.
Metal cracks that aren't caught during routine inspections can be catastrophic. 3 years ago, 43-year-old Jennifer Reardon was killed when a different engine on a Southwest 737 exploded in flight, shattering her window and pulling her from her seat. In 1989, 112 people were killed when United Flight 232 crash-landed in Sioux City, Iowa. Metal fatigue had caused a fan disc to rip apart, tearing through the plane's hydraulic lines. Now, NTSB investigators in Washington are reviewing the black boxes from Saturday's flight as the FAA orders urgent blade inspections for all grounded 777s that use the same Pratt engines. Are you concerned that other Pratt & Whitney fan blades may have the same defect?
The NTSB is very concerned about any time we have an engine failure like this, and we need to understand what happened so that we can keep it from happening again.
New today, Hawaii's health director says it will be a few weeks before residents 70 and older can get their first shot.
But because of the weather delays, that kind of added some time in there, and then a lot of the second doses that are due, so they weren't able to take as many first dose appointments as we like. And so we don't want people to, be calling and not getting appointments. So I think we're probably realistically looking at about, a few weeks from now. So maybe about 3 weeks or so.
Dr. Libby Char says Hawaii is not ready to move into Phase 1C. It includes a large portion of the population, 400,000 to 500,000 residents. But officials have talked about prioritizing those 65 and older and people with underlying health conditions. However, there is no timeline for when Phase 1C could start. The state got some welcomed news after weather delays last week. Officials say 50,000 doses of the vaccine arrived yesterday. Hilton Rathel of the Healthcare Association of Hawaii gave us an update.
There was only a small number of delays or actual individuals who were impacted because of the weather delays on the mainland last week, which is good news. We're able to move some vaccines around from site to site. And so there were only a relatively small number of individuals who had to have their appointments rescheduled.
Another 27,000 doses are due in later this week. So far, the state administered more than 306,000 shots. In all, more than 6% of Hawaii residents are fully vaccinated, and more than 13% got at least one dose.
Oahu's low 7-day case average is virtually guaranteeing that we'll move into Tier 3 on Thursday. Mayor Rick Blangiardi is expected to give us an update on this today at 4 p.m. We'll bring that to you live, on air, and online. Meanwhile, let's toss it over to Chelsea Davis with more on how businesses will be impacted by this change.
After 4 months of waiting for the case count to drop, business owners tell me Tier 3 couldn't have come at a better time. For many, it will mean double the current capacity, which they hope leads to double the income.
5, 4, 3 more, up, 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 up.
Chris Faldo opened Flex Fitness Hawaii in August, right before gyms were forced to close under Honolulu's second stay-at-home order.
With the push-up 3, let's go. Hop.
Today, he's operating at 25% capacity, hoping to open up to 50% by Thursday.
So if all goes well, we have to go up to 30 people into our gym. Right now we have 15. For the 25% capacity, so 50% will be up 30 members in our gym. So we're pretty ecstatic with that.
He says sanitizing and temperature checks have kept COVID out.
I'm pleased that it's going to the next phase, and hopefully it goes on to the next phase number 4, and hopefully it goes all back to normal.
Also under Tier 3 of Honolulu's reopening strategy, social gatherings will go up to 10 people, and restaurants will also allow 10 people per party. Retailers can now operate without any capacity restrictions. And the owner of Pali Lanes in Kailua says the state's oldest bowling alley may stay open after all.
We're to the point where we're just surviving.
Machado, at 80 years old, says places like this are essential for both physical and mental health.
You're moving your body, you're getting involved. You also are talking with people, which is so essential in our life. These are things that I hate to see disappear.
Honolulu's Mayor Rick Blangiardi said he's considering changing Tier 3 restrictions to accommodate bars and youth sports. If the average case count stays under 20, the soonest Oahu would move to the least restrictive Tier 4 is March 25th. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Chelsea. And again, we're expecting a press conference from Mayor Blangiardi today at 4. You can watch that live on TV and your H&N digital platforms. Going to take you live outside a digital live video feed coming into the H&N Digital Center, looking down King Street. A little wobble there in the camera, but really still the story is those wins this week. Let's get Guy Hoggy with an update.
How's it on this Tuesday? We're about to step into an extended run of very strong trade winds. Today the winds will be breezy, stronger than they were yesterday, but tomorrow's going to be stronger than they will be today. Now, we're not going to see a whole lot of rain, even though it's a little damp this morning for windward areas. By this afternoon, we're expecting drier conditions, especially for leeward sides. And we are expecting a fair bit of sunshine. Should be a pretty nice day, even though those winds will be running brisk and breezy at 15 to 25 miles an hour. And because of those strengthening trade winds, we're going to see a rising east swell. Already a high surf advisory is posted, and this advisory will likely run for the next several days because that trade wind swell is not going to back down anytime soon. Up in the country, we're expecting a little bit of a boost today, some overhead sets with a little bit of bumpy conditions as well. So again, breezy trade winds taking over today, getting stronger for the next several days. And that means we could even see some spotty power outages, so make preparations for that possibility. We'll have more details on air and online.
Tourism in Las Vegas plummeted in 2020, but the city is betting that life will return to normal this year. Wendy Gillette has more on what's new in the 9th Island this year and the COVID precautions properties are taking.
Circa in downtown Las Vegas opened its hotel a few days before 2021, ushering in a wave of new offerings this year. On Fremont Street with a pool, amphitheater, and the world's largest sports book, the adults-only hotel is the first newly built downtown resort to open in 4 decades. Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Hotels is taking over the former Hard Rock Hotel and plans a late March debut. And then there's Resorts World, built from the ground up and opening this summer on the Las Vegas Strip. Crockford's is one of 3 hotels, along with a Hilton and Conrad, that will be part of the $4.3 billion complex. It's an LXR hotel, Hilton's newest luxury brand.
It shows the resiliency of Las Vegas, and it talks about the desire for travelers to come back to this great destination when things are back again to somewhat of a normal level.
Until everything is back to normal, safety precautions will remain in place. If you haven't been to Vegas lately, that means mandatory face masks in public spaces. Individual properties have their own measures, such as thermal scanners at the Venetian. And at MGM hotels like Bellagio, there are plexiglass barriers at table games, contactless guest experiences, physical distancing policies, and more that you can't see.
You can hear our air that's being pumped in right now. That's a very important part of our protocols. So we're pumping in as much outside fresh air as possible.
MGM's plan also includes a very unusual site in a casino, custom-built hand washing stations with soap and water, and signs reminding people about the importance of washing your hands during the pandemic.
Brunel says only 19 million tourists visited Las Vegas last year, down 55% from 2019.
So what's your hope for 2021?
Well, our hope for 2021 is that as we hit March, April, May, June, and frankly, as we get into the 3rd quarter, that there will be enough vaccinations as well as individuals that have recovered from the virus that we will see a good amount of herd immunity.
He's hoping soon that will be a sure bet. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Las Vegas.
That looks fun. Thank you, Wendy.
Major Vegas withdrawals.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back when it's all safe. You guys, when everyone screams for ice cream, it usually means it's time to eat it, right? Not sit in it? Well, Klondike is hoping to change that. Check this out. This is their new, this is the name is great, Klondike Cone Zone. It's this new hanging chair they're offering. They're even having a Twitter contest. If you want to enter, you go to the Klondike ice cream Twitter account to enter the sweepstakes. That contest runs through March 8th. Yeah, pretty cool.
Looks
pretty
comfy.
groovy. Yep.
Remember the game Candyland? Well, what
yeah.
about Lucky Charms? So you can enjoy both at the same time. And we don't mean eating a bowl of Lucky Charms while you play Candyland, although you could do that too. We mean the new game by the makers of Candyland, but this time you're making your way through Lucky's Charm World. Now, the object of the game is to catch Lucky the leprechaun as he scampers off with his Lucky Charms because they're magically delicious, you know. And the games are limited edition. So if you're lucky enough to get one, you can snag one of them from the cereal's online shop.
Okay, that sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Yeah, this is a cute story. A suspicious bag left outside an Ohio church actually contained a furry surprise.
What?
A few furry surprises, to be exact. So the bomb squad was called in after this black bag was found outside the church door. And when detectives arrived, they didn't hear ticking, but purring. So a mama cat and her 6 one-day-old kittens were left in the bag. With them, a note that read, "Sprinkles went into labor yesterday." For you Office fans out there, I did not make that up. His name's Sprinkles. The mama and the babies were taken to a local animal shelter where they were warmed up and fed, and the Butler County Sheriff's Office shared the story on its Facebook page.
That cat story and then the story before it about the board game reminded me of your Christmas gift to me, Catopoly.
Catopoly.
Yes, we got it. You're due for a round of that.
Gosh.
You guys, let's talk more about animals and those rescued turtles from those freezing temps in Texas. Michael George gives us an in-depth update.
Thousands of endangered sea turtles are finally going home, the end result of one of the biggest turtle rescue efforts in history.
How do you rescue 5,000 turtles?
Lots of community involvement.
Wendy Knight of nonprofit Sea Turtle Incorporated helped lead the rescue. The winter storm that hit Texas left thousands of these endangered animals cold-stunned, unable to move because of their cold-blooded nature.
They're no longer able to swim, so they float to the top of the water. And because they can't draw breath and move their head to draw breath, they'll drown in the water if not rescued.
Despite Texans facing their own struggles due to the storm, volunteers started showing up, carrying 5,300 turtles to safety.
We were just overwhelmed with the outpouring of the community while they had no power, no water.
And when they ran out of space, the South Padre Island Convention Center helped house thousands more. So far, 2,200 turtles have recovered and been safely released. A community helping save animals that are unable to help themselves. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an
Inspiring
effort.
to see. Yeah, a lot of effort, really. And we got some news about the tooth fairy.
Right. So when you lost a tooth when you were young, Jonathan, how much would you get for it?
I want to say I used to get a silver dollar or a dollar. And I specifically remember getting the coin dollar and thinking that was super special.
Okay. Well, on average, nationally, apparently Delta Dental found that the tooth fairy today shells out about $4.70 per tooth.
What?
That's the most in the 23-year history of the original tooth fairy poll. The previous high was $4.60 in 2017. So I got to tell you, when I was young, so my mom's from Hilo, and that's where my grandparents were, and so the tooth fairy on the Big Island was way richer than the Kauai tooth fairy.
Oh, really?
So I would literally save all my teeth in a bag, and when we go visit my grandparents, I would take all my teeth there.
You were a young investor even back then.
And there was one time, so in Hilo, we would get $20 a tooth. Yeah, and there was one time, I think my grandpa and my grandma had a miscommunication, and so there was $40 under my pillow.
What?
Yeah.
You were the one making that average so high, right?
And that was a long time ago, so I mean, with inflation, come on, tooth fairy.
I know. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. As you just saw, we had a lot of news today, and we're going to keep updating you throughout the day on your H&N digital platforms. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter as well. You can find the sign up for that right on our homepage. Stay safe, everyone.
Aloha.